Hello everybody, I'm so glad that you're here. This is the first video from Melissa's Manis, and today what I wanted to do was to show you a really cool stormy weather type design from the Maniology MXM 078 plate. It's this one right here. And if you can see, we've got some lightning in the sky along with a little forest scene down below. Now, I wanted to show you kind of beginning to end how I do my nails, and there's a lot of tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that hopefully will be beneficial. But this plate here actually only comes as part of the Mani box that you can buy by the month. I personally think it's one of the best deals going as far as the monthly subscriptions that some of the plate companies have, but I really like this design. And I was playing around, and we're going to do something along this design here. Basically, the background is an ombre. If you can see at the very bottom here, we start with a light gray, and then we go to more of a stormy purpley color with silver stamping and black trees at the bottom. So let's get started here. You can see that first, okay, I have natural nails, and I've had some fallen soldiers here. If you can see this little guy, unfortunately, boo-hoo, I got one of those splits in the side, and this is the best I could come up with to try to save this nail and make it look as presentable as possible without losing the whole thing and having it split straight across. This guy here kind of was a fallen soldier too. But I started off by painting my nails first with the Orly Bonder rubberized base coat. Now, I'll be honest, a lot of people swear by this, and I just started using it as a base. I don't really see what the big deal is so far, but you know, whatever. I already have it. I'm using it. So I wanted to tell you first, one of the tricks that I've learned in just painting my own nails is a game changer for me. When I was first painting my nails, you know, I would just kind of wipe the brush off, you know, kind of just at the ends like this. And I ended up with way too much paint or polish on the brush. And it would end up making kind of a sloppy job when it came to actually painting my nails. So what I do now is when I'm taking it out, I'm trying to do the best to show this on camera here. When I'm taking it out of the bottle, I wipe the side closest to me and wipe that against the edge. Now that basically just leaves polish on the outside. So then when I take it to my nail, I only have polish there, and it's worked a lot better so far for me. But I've already done this to my nails ahead of time. So now we're gonna start with the colors. The first thing that we're going to do whenever you do an ombre, it's good to start with the lightest color first, okay? So in this case, I'm using the Sally Hansen Extreme Wear color, and it's number 624 in heavy metal. This is like a really versatile color. I love this light gray. It goes with pretty much everything. And the dark purple is actually a Shani from the Funky collection, and it is velvet. So first we're going to base coat. We're just going to do one nail, just so you kind of get the idea here. But if I can try to show you again, whenever I'm about to paint my nail, I like to wipe the side toward me on the side of the bottle. And then when it comes time to actually paint my nail, I don't like getting too close to the cuticle because it makes cleanup pretty tedious. And it also tends to look unprofessional, or that's just my opinion. Okay, so again, I'm wiping close to me on the bottle. So I take a lot of that excess polish off, and then just try to be very careful. The more careful you are at this part, the less cleanup you have to do. All right, and I try to kind of smooth this out around the cuticle area. But anytime that you're stamping, you don't have to worry about that so much because you're going to end up stamping over it more than likely anyway. So there's the first part. And Whether or not I do a second coat, honestly, a lot of times just depends on how well the first coat covers. Now, if you look at this one, this is part of what I like about the Sally Hansen Extreme Wear, is it tends to coat pretty well in one, it tends to cover pretty well in one coat. And so I usually don't have to do two, but if it was kind of streaky or, you could see through it, then obviously you put down two coats. Especially because I'm doing an ombre on this one. Two coats isn't necessary, and the fewer the amount of coats, the quicker your mani's done. So I'm gonna let this dry real quick and I'll be right back. I'm back and my nail is somewhat dry, and as you can see, of course, in getting my materials, I've already kind of dented it up a little bit, but it's not a problem because when you're doing an ombre, you're never gonna see it anyways, especially when you're stamping on top. Now, what I've got here are these little doodads I found on Amazon. I'll be sure to link them in the description below. But I love these things because most of the time, people will be using the, what is it called? It's like the latex tape stuff, kind of like this, that you see people painting around their skin. Because doing an ombre can get quite messy. But I love these because they come in different sizes, so you can find some that will fit your nail exactly. And then in order to cover myself completely, I use this little thin tape here. There we go. And just kind of put me a piece right up at the cuticle line. And that protects things pretty darn well without causing a whole lot of problem and hassle and cleanup and all this other stuff that can happen when you're doing your nails. So now that I am good and protected, it's time to start doing the ombre. Now, I've tried a bunch of different ways, but for me, the best thing that works is using one of these just cheapo makeup sponges. Now, I used to use the flat side like this, but you don't really need all this space when you're trying to ombre your nails, because I don't know about you, but my nails are nowhere near that long. So what I found works well for me is using the short fat side like this. And it also makes it where you can really get a lot of ombres out of one sponge, because I will then take the sponge when I'm done and just kind of cut that painted side off, and voila, a new sponge. So in order to do an ombre, if you haven't done one before, all you have to do is paint a stripe, or however wide you want the ombre, just paint a stripe on the sponge like this, get it good and saturated, and then you just go to your nail and start dabbing. Now, because it's a stormy scene, I want to leave enough room for the trees to be seen. So I'm only going to do about half of my nail. Now, if you want, you can obviously do as much as you want. But for this design, I'm just going to do about half. Now you can see the first coat isn't going to give you a whole lot of coverage. The thing with ombres and what makes them look good is you have to build the coverage. You can't just think it's all going to happen in one layer. So normally you would let that dry, and I should to some extent, but we're doing a video, so we're going to hurry this along. But then you apply some more, because it kind of does soak in. It is a sponge. And you keep dabbing at it and basically building the color until you get the darkness that you want. Okay, so it's a little bit darker that time. A lot of times it takes, especially if you're wanting like really good saturation, it could take 3 to 4 little dabs at it before you get it exactly like you want. Now you may be thinking like, hey, wait a minute. And always, with these things, you do have to get it really close to the edge, so you don't have a weird line there on the side. And you may be thinking like, well, hey, this isn't blending so well. I still see quite a difference here between the gray and the purple. But that's the beauty of the top coat. Don't worry about that, because in the next step, when we add the top coat, you're going to see how it really helps to blend it all together. And now I'm getting paint from this on here, so Let me try to wipe that off. All right, it doesn't want to wipe off. That's all right. So let's go for layer number 3. Again, soaking this pretty good. Okay. And dabbing away. And I think 3 is going to do it. This looks about like the sky I want. All right, I'm digging that. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry, and then I'm gonna be right back with you for the top coat and starting to stamp. Okay, now this is pretty dry, and so we should be ready for the top coat. Now, normally I love using the Maniology smudge-free top coat. As you can see, I buy it in bulk because I use it anytime I'm stamping. It's a great way to get a top coat down and not smear your stamp, because there's nothing worse than sitting there doing all this awesome work and only to apply the top coat and it smears all over the place. So in this case though, because we are just doing an ombre, I'm just going to put down a matte top coat over the top. And I like this Sally Hansen Big Matte Top Coat. Now, I'll be honest, it's not the best for protection, but it is cheap and it's great for when you just need a top coat that's not the outer layer, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to, again, let's see if I can get it in view here. I'm going to do the whole wipe trick where I wipe towards me. Not that you can see that. There we go. And I'm going to apply the top coat, and you'll see that it will immediately kind of smear that line and meld the ombre kind of together better. Now, the good thing about this design too is you're doing a sky, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It can have little, you know, like here I've got like some little wispies and stuff in there. That's fine, kind of looks like clouds, so that's not an issue at all. And again, that's nails for you. Anytime you're doing anything artistic, it's never going to work out exactly as planned. So, okay, we're going to let this dry. And the good thing is matte top coats do tend to dry pretty fast. So while this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're going to be stamping. The good thing is this, I would say this design is kind of maybe an intermediate design because we are doing an ombre as the background, but it's not terribly difficult. We're going to be stamping twice, basically. Okay, so we've got the lightning here at the top, and for that, I'm going to be using the Queen Silver Dust Rocking Metallic stamping polish. That's going to do really cool lightning for us, and then we're going to be using just Born Pretty or any black, it's fine. This is just Born Pretty black. So we're going to be using that to do the shadows down here of the trees so that it looks like the storm is happening at night. All right, well, as you can see while I was talking, true to form, the matte top coat has already dried. So now it's time to stamp. So first, I'm going to start with the lightning. Now, in my example here, and this is why I always like doing examples like this, because I kind of get to work out the kinks on colors and what all I liked about the design and what I didn't. The only thing I did not like about what I did on this one is I wish that the lightning wouldn't have come down so far. I'd like to see the ombre gradient a little better. So I'm going to raise the lightning up more into the purple this time. We're going to see what that gets. So in order to stamp, again, you got your stamping card here. You've got your stamping polish, and of course, you need your stamp. Now, I use a variety of different ones depending on my mood and what I'm doing. This doesn't have to be terribly technical, so I just have an old cheapo that I'm sure I got on Amazon or something somewhere. So I'm going to clean that off and make sure it doesn't have any remnants. I've already gone over the plate again with acetone just to make sure that there's no oils or anything like that on it that will hinder the design pickup. And one trick that I have learned here recently, especially during the winter, that has helped is to warm up the plate. So a lot of times what I like to do is just turn it upside down and rub it on my leg, which is what I'm doing right now, just to kind of warm it up a little bit. it does actually make a difference, and I found that the images can pick up better by doing that. All right, so I'm going to do my best to get my hands out of the way and show you how I stamp. So you just want to put down some polish liberally, and then we're going to scrape at a 45-degree angle, and I like to stamp with a rolling motion so that you can see it picked up well. And then quickly I want to put it down. There we go. All right, and I clean my stamper again with the little lint roller sticky thing. I know it's off camera so you can't see it, but I will show you just generally. I have one of these guys here that is a lifesaver. Okay, so that turned out well. So now it's time to do the black trees. Now notice I'm not cleaning my plate yet because it's not really necessary. Just gives me an extra step to do. I'll clean it at the end of this nail. So I'm going to pick this little area of trees over here because I like all the definition that's in those. Okay, so once again, we'll get a big bunch of polish on the plate in that area, and then scrape at a 45-degree angle. It's important to lightly scrape when you're doing an area that's open like this, and then look and see what you got. You know, sometimes I scrape a little too lightly and it doesn't come out perfect, but I think I can salvage this because if you cut off this part and maybe cut off this part, that doesn't look too shabby. So I'm going to line it up as best as possible and stamp that on, and there you have it. So we've got the trees there, and we've got the gradient, and so now I'm gonna take this off so you can kind of see the finished product there, and tamp down those little extra lines that curl up sometimes. And there you have it. Now, the cleanup is actually pretty easy because see, with the little nail guards that we have here, that makes it so that I don't have to do but just a very little bit of cleanup. So that's pretty nice. And if I show you what I usually use in order to do that is I just get a little bit of acetone on this brush and go around my nail. So I will do that now. Let me get this stuff out of the way. I've got this little pump bottle here of acetone, and I get a little bit on my brush there, kind of dab some of it off, the excess, and then just go around your nail very lightly so you don't mess up any of your hard work. And same thing over here. There we go. Okay, and clean off your brush again. Whoops, as I'm bumping the camera. And there you have it. There we go, the Stormy nail there. Okay, now me personally, I will probably put another matte top coat on top because I like it when it looks matte. Anytime I do a lot of detail work, I like it to be more matte than glossy, especially because I've got a metallic lightning going on here, and so that's going to show through the matte either way. And so I will do my whole hands like this because I really like this design. But anyways, this is how it goes. So if you found anything important, a tip that you really liked, please let me know. If you've got any ideas for anything you'd like to see in the future, let me know. And also, if you could please subscribe. I'm just getting started, and I'd really, really appreciate any new followers that I could get. So thanks a lot, and I hope y'all have a great day.